A vignette. Growing up, I lived in an apartment building on the 3rd floor. I lived there for 10 years, between ages 10 and 20. My bedroom window looked out on the parking lot at the rear of the building. Beyond it was an old 2-story house, which served as the offices of an insurance company, and to my right, that wonderful artery known as Kerr Street. Along the horizon, I could glimpse other apartment buildings, and away to the downtown, a blinking neon light. Blood red to shocking pink, blood red to shocking pink, blood red to shocking pink, over and over. It called to me, and I felt overwhelmed with a strange longing, a yearning I didn't quite understand. The source of the light? It was on the other side of an optician's office, advertising glasses. A prosaic reality, but the winking neon colors called to me, called to something in me. I've always been an insomniac, and sometimes I would get up in the middle of the night and look out of the window at the street, the night sky and the distant neon light, and dream. It was usually dead quiet with very little traffic and no pedestrians. They rolled up the sidewalks at 6 p.m. around here, so all the good people were in bed or asleep, except for me. I first saw the man on a night with a full moon, as I sat in the window, bathed in the intense silvery light. He was standing just below my window, leaning on the stone fence which separated the parking lot from Kerr Street, and he appeared to be staring up at my window. I didn't know if he could see me or not, but I drew back into the shadows where I could observe without being observed. The man appeared to be young, stocky, with a broad, honest face and sandy hair cut short, almost a crew cut. He appeared to be wearing some kind of uniform, a white short-sleeved shirt with some type of monogram on it, like he worked at Canadian Tire or someplace like that. And he had an earring. An earring! It was most discreet, just a small precious stone worn on the left ear. But it startled me. It startled me. Men did not wear earrings in small-town Ontario in 1973. The man was looking at me so intensely, I felt his stare almost physically, and it frightened me. I stepped away from the window and got back in bed and just lay there. But I couldn't get the image of the staring man out of my head. Eventually, I got up and took another look at the street below. The man was still there. The man was still there! He was still there. Now, I was really scared and got back in bed and stayed there. Eventually, I slept. But I dreamt about the strange man. Dreamt that I saw him standing below my window, staring up to where I lay sleeping. For the next few nights, I would peep out the window after dark, to always find the man there, still leaning against the stone wall. I also saw him in my dreams. Or nightmares. The worst nightmare went like this. I was sitting in the back of a car, an old car like a Ford Falcon, and driving the car was the staring man with the earring. And he was driving down Kerr Street at midnight, driving down the midnight street too fast, too fast. I found I couldn't move, couldn't speak, although I wanted to yell at him to slow down and let me out. We rocketed down Kerr Street, running all the red lights. Thank God there was no traffic. And then the lake loomed up directly before us, down at the end of the street. We didn't stop. We didn't stop. We didn't stop. We didn't stop, but plunged into the dark waters of the lake and sank like a stone. Underwater, the inside of the car was lit by a strange phosphorescent light, which enabled me to see my driver, who turned to face me, staring at me with his intense ice blue eyes. And as the car began to fill with the all-surrounding water, the dark all-surrounding water, he smiled at me. He smiled at me. Smiled! And I woke up screaming. That was the worst of my nightmares, but they persisted for several years until I finally left home and moved away to concentrate on other things, other nightmares. I actually told one of my grade 9 teachers about the dreams, and he told me they were a harbinger of death. Death? But I was never going to die, at least not for a long, long time. Still, I thought about the staring man over the years, and sometimes I thought I saw him, but always far away or as part of a crowd of people. So I couldn't be sure. I couldn't really be sure. As to why I had the nightmares, who knows? Probably comes from all the horror movies I used to consume back then. And then, one day, back in 2016, I got up from my desk at work and immediately collapsed and fell to the floor. My chest was constricted by the mother of all cramps, and my left arm felt like it was broken in a million separate pieces. A maintenance worker was passing by my office when I fell, and he immediately called 911. I passed in and out of consciousness, but I do remember being rushed down a hospital corridor while a loudspeaker blared, "Code Blue, Code Blue," and I realized the emergency was me. One of the paramedics turned and stared at me, and I could see him distinctly. He was young, stocky, with a broad face and sandy hair cut short, almost a crew cut. He was wearing a smock, white, short-sleeved, with the hospital monogram on it. And he had an earring on his left ear. His eyes were an intense ice blue, and as he stared at me, he smiled at me. And he was the same man as the one who had stared up at my bedroom window so many years before. Harbinger of death? No, of survival. I made it. But while I do enjoy reconnecting with old acquaintances, there are limits. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring such cryptids as the Night Floaters, werewolves, and the Black-Eyed Children. So again, please consider subscribing. Please help me to reach my goal of 2,021 subs in 2021. Till midnight. Cheers. Pictures used in today's video, courtesy of Pix Here, that's PX Here, while the music was The Haunting Nebula by the wonderfully talented Mayu. You know, this is my second recording of this story today, because after an hour and a half worth of work, the Gremlins managed to delete my first and much, much, much better recording. However, I believe the old actor's adage, "The show must go on," So here it is for you all, and I apologize for my too gravelly voice.